Resident Evil has spent 28 years hiding something far worse than zombies beneath the surface of every outbreak. Every mutation, every failed experiment, every victim who couldn't die revealed a pattern nobody wanted to acknowledge about what these viruses actually do to human consciousness. That's why today, I'm ranking the 8 most disturbing organisms in Resident Evil history and explaining exactly why they break you. Starting with the creature that punishes you for thinking the threat is over. Lickers and Crimson Heads. You kill a zombie and walk away, believing you're safe. And that's exactly when the T-virus activates the second phase of infection that Umbrella spent years trying to suppress. The VACT process triggers when infected corpses enter dormancy. The virus doesn't just reanimate tissue, it completely reconstructs the host's cellular structure while the body lies motionless on the ground. Crimson Heads emerge with restored motor function, increased aggression, and claws sharp enough to decapitate humans in single swipes. The Arklay Laboratory VACT researchers note from July 1998 describes what happened when scientists tried feeding one. 4 researchers died in what the file calls an instant bloodbath. The lab had to be sealed, but then the virus kept evolving. Lickers represent the final stage of T-virus epsilon strain infection. When zombies enter starvation hibernation, their brains begin expanding rapidly inside the skull. The growth doesn't stop when it runs out of space. The brain tissue ruptures through bone, shattering the skull from the inside and erupting outward as exposed gray matter. Every layer of skin dissolves, revealing reformed musculature designed for quadrupedal hunting. The skeletal structure warps to force the body onto all fours. Human hands become talons. Eyes stop functioning entirely, covered by the swelling brain mass. Players discovered something in the Licker research files that Umbrella tried to hide. The transformation doesn't destroy consciousness immediately. Zombies retain selective memories, which is why they mill around locations familiar to their human lives. During the VACT process, hosts experience periods where they lose and regain awareness. The Biohazard 2 development notes suggest the most terrifying possibility. Some part of the victim might still be present during transformation, trapped inside a body that's tearing itself apart and rebuilding into something that hunts by the sound of breathing. The tongue mutation occurs last. It extends to over 6 feet, develops enough tensile strength to pierce Kevlar, and according to the RCPD autopsy reports, can literally peel skin from victims in strips. But if brain tissue erupting through shattered skulls seems horrific, wait until you learn about the virus that judges your entire genetic code and finds you unworthy. Ouroboros rejected hosts. Albert Wesker designed Ouroboros to separate humanity into 2 categories in under 60 seconds. And the virus achieves this through a selection process that tears 99% of hosts apart from the inside out. Ouroboros operates on brutal binary logic. The virus develops an orange sensory core immediately after injection. Black leech-like pustules sprout from this core and begin consuming the host's internal organs. Within seconds, the virus evaluates the subject's genetic compatibility. For those Wesker considered genetically superior, the pustules integrate with existing tissue and grant superhuman abilities. For everyone else, the pustules run completely out of control. The host body becomes merely a vehicle for writhing black tentacle masses that consume everything they touch. But then you see what rejection actually looks like in real time. Exella Gione believed herself genetically perfect. As CEO of Tracell Africa and Wesker's closest collaborator, she expected to become one of the chosen. Her screams echoed through the Tricell tanker as Ouroboros tore her apart. The pustules consumed her body, then merged her remains with a pile of dead Magini corpses scattered across the deck. The resulting creature, Ouroboros aheri, grew into a tree-like monstrosity several stories tall. Her face remained visible in the biomass, twisted in permanent agony. Chris and Sheva required a satellite laser to destroy what she had become. The Kajuju test subjects documented in the Tricell files show even worse fates. Rejected hosts experienced sweating, labored breathing, and confusion while remaining fully conscious. They knew something was wrong. They felt the pustules tearing through organs, and they stayed aware long enough to understand they had been judged unworthy before the tentacles ripped them apart completely. Research notes confirm the virus makes its genetic evaluation in under 1 minute, determining complex genetic superiority faster than any any biological process should allow. That impossibility condemned thousands to deaths that lasted just long enough for them to understand why. But if instant genetic judgment seems cruel, wait until you see what happens when mutation occurs in real time during combat. Javo and C virus complete mutations. The C virus transforms humans into intelligent soldiers in under 60 seconds. And when you damage them in combat, their bodies mutate instantly into something worse right in front of you. Javo retain nearly all human intelligence after infection. They speak coherent sentences, operate complex firearms, drive vehicles, and coordinate tactical assaults. Neo Umbrella deliberately engineered this cognitive preservation to create the perfect bioweapon soldier. The transformation occurs in less than 1 minute after injection. Victims experience facial restructuring as extra eyes tear through skin in random locations, weeping blood as compound insect-like eyes emerge across their faces. Some develop 2 additional eyes, others grow 5 or more in asymmetric patterns that destroy any remaining humanity in their appearance. But then, you shoot one and discover the real horror of C virus engineering. Damaged body parts don't die, they mutate in real time during active combat. Shoot a Javo's arm and watch it transform into a blade-like scythe called Ruka SRP, capable of bisecting humans in single strikes. Damage the head and beetle pincers may erupt from the skull, forming Glavasmec mutations strong enough to lift and tear armored soldiers in half. The Lanxiang incident reports describe faces growing on each side of the clamp-like head, watching victims as the pincers close. When total damage exceeds the body's threshold, Javo either bursts into flames or enters the chrysalid stage. Inside the cocoon, the C virus dissolves the host's entire body into biological paste. Every bone, organ, and tissue breaks down completely. Then the virus rebuilds the genetic material into complete mutation species with 0 human features remaining. The creature called Rasclapangi emerges as 4 separate organisms sharing one consciousness. 2 autonomous hands, an upper torso, and independent legs operate as a single entity. The hands crawl independently to suffocate victims. The legs spray concentrated acid. When the body is destroyed, the actual parasite emerges from what remains of the host's mouth to implant embryos that develop into new Rasclapangi in minutes. Deborah Harper retained enough awareness during her complete mutation transformation to recognize her sister Helena before insect appendages erupted from her spine. But if watching bodies mutate during combat seems impossible, wait until you learn about the parasite that turns entire villages into puppets who might still be watching through their own eyes. Las Plagas Ganados. Las Plagas doesn't kill its host or destroy the brain, and that's exactly what makes it more disturbing than any virus in the franchise, because the victims might still be conscious inside. Ganados retain everything that makes humans functional. They farm crops, maintain equipment, operate vehicles, write coherent notes, and perform complex religious rituals. Village Chief Vitores Mendez maintains sophisticated social leadership over the entire community. The merchant, confirmed infected by Capcom developers, somehow retains complete autonomy and assists Leon Kennedy throughout his mission. Luis Serra's research documents describe the plaga affecting the parietal lobe, which controls sensory processing, while paralyzing the frontal lobe responsible for emotion, reasoning, and moral judgment. But then, you read what the parasites actually do to human consciousness. The infection process takes approximately 8 hours after initial exposure. Victims experience fever, coughing, convulsions, and periods of lost time they cannot account for. Luis Serra's memo references real-world parasites like Dicrocolium dendriticum that hijack ant nervous systems to control behavior. His notes suggest Las Plagas achieves something far more sophisticated in human hosts. Dominant plaga carriers like Osmond Sadler issue commands through high-frequency sounds undetectable to human hearing. Every infected host obeys instantly, suggesting a hive mind connection. The community repeats their final orders obsessively. Ganados, who were farmers before infection, continue farming. Those who were religious continue chanting prayers. Leon and Ashley experience their own infections as violent convulsions and coughing blood. Sadler demonstrates the ability to cause excruciating pain remotely without speaking, just by willing it. Here's what breaks every established explanation. Some Ganados show signs of internal conflict. They pause mid-attack as if fighting invisible restraints. The Biohazard 4 Incubate booklet reveals something worse. Children injected with plagas died. Every single child. Their bodies could not survive the infection. The village ending credits show sketches of children who once lived there, now gone forever. When ganados die, type C plagas can separate from the host corpse and survive independently as 8-legged spider creatures. These emerged from high-ranking monks infected longest, suggesting the parasite grows stronger the longer it controls a host. Nobody knows if the original personalities are suppressed, destroyed, or trapped watching themselves commit violence they cannot stop. But if parasitic control seems horrifying, wait until you see the bioweapon that regenerates from any damage while breathing like something that's suffering. Regenerators and Iron Maidens. The Regenerador doesn't announce itself with roars or footsteps, and the heavy, raspy, labored breathing echoing through the island laboratory corridors is the only warning you get before it finds you. That breathing was deliberately designed to maximize psychological terror. It sounds like respiratory distress, like a body struggling to maintain basic functions, like something trapped inside, fighting to breathe. Players have debated for 19 years whether that sound indicates residual human consciousness or just damaged lungs forcing air through mutated tissue. The Japanese guidebook states the brain has completely transformed with no human thought capability remaining, but the breathing persists through every encounter. Regenerators are created by implanting multiple Las Plagas parasites into single human corpses. The April 9-13 subject analysis file from the RE-Free 4 remake documents their creation. The researcher wrote he had created new life with incredible metabolic capacity. Unless every parasite residing within the organism is destroyed, tissue regenerates indefinitely. The researcher compared himself to Frankenstein before adding a final note. The subject went wild, escaped its cryogenic tank, and he realized he was the real fool. But then you see what escaped regenerators actually do. Case file 2002-F documents a single escaped specimen that caused 7 deaths and 19 injuries over 20 hours. Recovery teams found 6 bodies. The 7th was never recovered. Security footage showed the regenerator had absorbed the human corpse and a metal tool into its own mass. The victims weren't just killed, they were integrated. The organisms appear as gray, hairless, genderless humanoids, with permanent drooling grins full of fang-like teeth. They have no ears or nose. Their eyes glow red like bubbles about to burst. Arms stretch unnaturally to snatch prey from impossible distances. Limbs blown off by shotguns regrow visibly in under 10 seconds. Bodies riddled with bullets heal completely while they shamble forward, breathing that labored rasp. Iron Maidens are specialized combat variants covered in retractable needle-like spikes. Named after the medieval torture device, they don't bite victims. They pull prey close and impale them on hundreds of spikes simultaneously. Upon death, Iron Maidens explode in bursts of spikes that damage everything nearby. Destroying all plagas in a standard regenerator can trigger transformation into an Iron Maiden, spawning a new plaga in the head. The breathing never stops, even as they regenerate, even as they die. But if unkillable bioweapons seem nightmarish, wait until you meet the father who hunted his own daughter while screaming her name. G-Virus Mutations. William Birkin retained enough consciousness through his first transformation to scream his daughter's name, and he spent the next week hunting her to implant an embryo while whatever remained human slipped away in stages. On September 22nd, 1998, USS operatives fatally shot Birkin during a G-Virus recovery operation at the Nest Laboratory beneath Raccoon City. Dying on the floor of his own lab, Birkin injected himself with the virus he had spent 15 years developing. The transformation began immediately. His right arm, where he was shot, grotesquely increased in muscle mass. A blood-red eyeball emerged from his shoulder, but critically, he retained intelligence and personality in this first stage. He used a metal pipe as a weapon, pursued the operatives who shot him, and devoured G-Virus samples to keep them safe from recovery. But then security footage captured something that divided the RE community for decades. G1. Birkin was documented screaming 2 phrases repeatedly, "Help me," and "Sherry," his daughter's name. Cutscenes show him appearing to protect her before G instincts overwhelmed rational thought. The question nobody can answer is how much of William Birkin understood what he was becoming while he still had a mouth capable of forming her name. G2 stage arrived within hours. Birkin's original skull was destroyed as his face and scalp melded into his torso. A new head grew from the shoulder. A lamprey eel mouth began forming in his chest. Complete loss of personality occurred here. The virus replaced identity with pure biological imperative. G3 stage erased almost all human features, leaving only a patch of skin on the torso where Birkin's face used to be. By G4 stage, degradation had begun. The breeding instinct was replaced by constant hunger. Birkin consumed zombies and liquors in the sewers, their partially digested limbs visible extending from his body as he stalked the underground. The G virus compels hosts to seek blood relatives for reproduction. G embryos are implanted through victims' mouths via chest tentacles. Compatible hosts become second-generation G mutants. Incompatible hosts experience chest-bursting rejection as the embryo tears free as a larval creature. Police Chief Brian Irons and journalist Ben Bertolucci both died screaming as their chests exploded with larval G adults. Birkin, driven entirely by G instinct, hunted his 12-year-old daughter Sherry through the sewers to implant an embryo. Without the devil vaccine, she would have transformed. Instead, she became essentially immortal with regeneration abilities that stopped her aging. But if a father hunting his daughter seems tragic, wait until you learn about the girl who suffered conscious mutation for 31 years. The megamycete and molded. The megamycete doesn't just kill you and reanimate your corpse. And after Mother Miranda touched it in 1919, she discovered every person who died near the village for over 1,000 years still exists inside it. The fungal supercolony functions as what Miranda's laboratory files call a biological computer, capable of data storage. When someone dies in proximity to the mold, their genetic structure and consciousness are absorbed and cataloged. Miranda experienced this firsthand when she touched the megamycete searching for her daughter Eva, who died of Spanish flu. She saw the memories of hundreds, potentially thousands of people preserved in the fungal network, their personalities, their thoughts, everything they were, trapped in a hive mind that predates human civilization in that region. But then, Resident Evil Village revealed something that recontextualizes the entire previous game. Ethan Winters died in the Baker house attic at the beginning of Resident Evil 7. Jack Baker killed him during their first encounter. The game never shows you recovering from that attack because you didn't. Ethan's body was reconstituted entirely from mold after he had already been exposed through infected Mia. He survived having his hand severed twice, his heart ripped out by Miranda, and dozens of fatal injuries because his body was never human tissue. It was fungal matter mimicking human form. The inventory screen literally shows mold visible inside his reattached hand. Eveline's ghost confirms it. You died in that house 3 years ago. Your whole body is nothing but mold. Ethan remained completely unaware he was a walking corpse for 3 years. His consciousness persisted within the megamycete even after his physical death, helping his daughter Rose in the shadows of Rose. DLIC years later. The molded creatures are formed by combining human corpses with large quantities of mold. Lucas Baker's experiment logs document Eveline turning 2 men into standard molded and 1 into a fat molded at will. Because they're created from corpses, molded cannot replicate higher brain functions, but something of the absorbed remains, cataloged somewhere in the fungal network. Jack Baker's consciousness appeared to Ethan while trapped in the mold, begging him to free the family by killing Eveline. The absorbed retain awareness inside the network. Whether that awareness constitutes immortality or eternal imprisonment, nobody knows. Every victim consumed by the mold for over a millennium might still be conscious, cataloged, preserved in fungal tissue that never dies. But if consciousness trapped in a hive mind forever seems like the ultimate horror, wait until you meet the girl who stayed aware through 31 years of experiments that should have killed her in minutes. Lisa Trevor. Lisa Trevor survived 31 years of continuous viral experiments that killed every other test subject in under a week. And the diary she left behind proves she stayed conscious enough to remember her mother through every single mutation. Umbrella kidnapped 14-year-old Lisa and her mother Jessica on November 10, 1967. Both were injected with progenitor virus strains immediately. Jessica received type A, which failed and killed her within days. Lisa received type B, which fused successfully with her cellular structure. Her diary from November 14, 1967 reads, in careful handwriting, handwriting. I feel dizzy after that shot they gave. I don't see Mom. When a female researcher impersonated Jessica on November 15th to keep Lisa calm during testing, Lisa saw through the deception instantly. She believed the woman had stolen her mother's face and tore it off in violent rage. But then Umbrella decided Lisa's usefulness hadn't ended. From 1967 to 1998, researchers injected her with every strain of T virus developed over 3 decades. Her body absorbed and integrated each one with 0 outward changes. In July 1988, the NE alpha parasite was implanted. Previous test subjects died within 5 minutes. Lisa's immune system absorbed it completely, developing tentacles from her back. The constant viral recombination created something entirely new in her blood, the G virus. William Birkin extracted it, declared her useless, and ordered her execution. 3 days after USS operatives shot her and monitored for life signs, they declared her dead and disposed of the body. Her regenerative abilities allowed complete recovery. She lived wild in the Arklay Mountains as what locals called the Mountain Woman. Her final diary entry, written in deteriorating handwriting after decades of mutation, shows complete cognitive collapse. Mommy, where I miss you. I just want to be with her. Over 30 years, Lisa collected faces from victims, primarily female researchers. She sewed them together into a grotesque mask worn over her own face. She believed wearing the faces would help her find her mother. During the 1998 mansion incident, when STARS members opened Jessica's stone coffin, Lisa recognized her mother's remains by scent after 31 years. She cried out, "Mo, there," proving consciousness had persisted through 3 decades of torture Umbrella called research. She took her mother's skull and jumped into the abyss beneath the crypt. She survived the fall, encountered Albert Wesker during the mansion's self-destruct sequence, and stalked him as one of her torturers. Wesker pinned her with a fallen chandelier. She finally died when Spencer Mansion exploded on July 25, 1998. Every other organism on this list represents transformation. Lisa Trevor represents duration. 31 years of conscious suffering in a body that refused to let her die. If you enjoyed this video and want to see every Resident Evil mystery that still has no answer, click the video on screen now.